Yes. But it was.
It's in the perfect sign for you, Patrick. It's a perfect little metal sign for you.
Metal?
Metal. Got a guy on a dirt bike jumping over a hill. It says most old men would have quit by now, but I'm not like most old men. I thought of you when I saw that.
All righty. Good morning. It is January 23rd, 2024, and this regular business meeting of the Bonner County Board of Commissioners is called to order. For the record, I am Chairman Luke Ahmet, and Commissioners Asia Williams and Steve Bradshaw are also present. Please rise for the invocation with Pastor Jerry Favor.
Let's pray. God, thank you for this day, and thank you for another year as we end January, and that you just be the meetings here, and that you would be with all the commissioners and give them wisdom to make right decisions that would honor you. Discussion and things would be done with graciousness and maturity, that you would just help us people be able to agree and to disagree with right hearts without anger, and that you would just bless this time that would be productive for you. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The purpose of the regular business meeting is for the Board of County Commissioners to conduct the business of Bonner County publicly. Regular business meetings do not constitute public hearings wherein the public has the right to be heard on every agendized item. However, at the discretion of the chair, everyone may be afforded an opportunity to speak on a particular issue if recognized by the chair. Any unrecognized comments or disruptive behavior will be grounds for removal from the board meeting by the chair and may subject the person being removed to criminal prosecution according to law. Bonner County Sheriff's personnel are present and will assist with maintaining the peace as stated by Sheriff Darrell Wheeler on September 14th, 2023. And it is Sheriff Wheeler's #1 goal for his 5th term is to keep Bonner County a safe place to live, work, and play. The purpose for the public comment section of the Board of County Commissioners business meeting is to enable citizens with issues or concerns which they wish to bring to the board's attention and afford an opportunity for consideration on a future agenda for possible board action. The board will not engage in dialogue with the presenter during this session, but rather may choose to schedule the presenter's topic for board consideration at a future business meeting. Questions may be directed to individual board members for the purpose of clarifying issues or to obtain additional information for the purpose of scheduling the matter for a business meeting. However, no action will be taken on any issue or concern brought to the board's attention during this session. The chair will not entertain under any circumstances comments derogatory in nature toward any board member, staff member, elected official, or member of the public. Our first order of business today.
Can I ask a point of clarification, please?
A point of order?
May I?
Absolutely, yes.
Are you saying that Sheriff Wheeler told you that law enforcement was going to do something, or is that, because I've seen the emails back
He
and
actually
forth on
said that
this.
in public.
No, that.
Can I please
yes.
finish what I'm asking you?
Yes,
So I've
please.
seen the emails back and forth where Sheriff Wheeler explained that the presence of law enforcement in this meeting is not here to control the meeting, and specifically that hearing information from the public that you don't like or find disagreeable is not something that a person's breaking a law of. So are you saying that you have post that email exchange received something different that says law enforcement will remove people, for example, when you say remove persons, or are you interpreting his statement for running for office as what you're using to say that law enforcement will do that? Because the emails don't confirm what you just stated.
Commissioner, we're going to return to the order of the day. That is not an agendized item. I think that
I asked for clarification, though.
And the chair is stating that we are returning to the business of the meeting. So the first order of business on the meeting is the standing rules. And there have been some misinterpretations of what a standing rule is. So for clarification purposes, before we get to my proposed addition to the standing rules, which is actually more formal than other bodies within this state, within this county, or within this nation, standing rules refer to operating procedures or policies. They're generally adopted individually and when the need arises. Standing rules are adopted by a majority vote at any business meeting and traditionally do not require previous notice. An amendment to a standing rule that deals with parliamentary procedure requires a 2/3 vote if prior notice has not been given, or by a majority vote with such notice. Standing rules may be temporarily suspended for the duration of a meeting by a majority vote. Now, one of the questions that has come up that is troublesome is, well, why does the chair reside at a meeting? And I will tell you why the chair resides at a meeting. It's because it's the law. It's not a suggestion. It is the law. Under Idaho Code, Title 31, 706, which is the Board of County Commissioners. And the law is, what is a quorum? And this goes back to the standing rule that was passed last week. The majority of the board constitutes a quorum. So in this case, it is 2 of 3. The chairman must preside at all meetings of the board. And in case of his absence or inability to act, the members must, by an order, select one of their number to act as chairman temporarily. Any member of the board or its clerk may administer oaths to any person concerning any matter submitted to them or connected with their powers. And this is part of the reason why there has to be a quorum in order for the board to be able to do anything. It's because the law states. It is not a suggestion, it is the law, and we must comply with the law. So to return to standing rules, what are some organizations that utilize standing rules? Well, right here in Bonner County, the Bonner County Republican Central Committee utilizes standing rules. The legislature of the state of Idaho is currently in our legislative session. They use standing rules, both the House and the Senate. For example, House Rule number 26. Nothing in this rule shall prohibit the removal of any person who willfully disrupts a meeting to the extent that orderly conduct is seriously compromised. House Rule 39, limitation on debate. And you will notice a synthesis between the rules that Bonner County has adopted and the rules of the legislature. Because authority flows from the people to the Constitution to the legislature, and the legislature drives what we do as county commissioners. It is not the other way around. Limitations on debate, Rule 39. In the Senate, Rule 5, control of order. The president of the Senate has general control and direction of the Senate floor while presiding. The exact word that we find in statute. The chairman must preside and shall preserve order and decorum therein, and in case of disturbance or disorderly conduct, may order the same cleared or any persons removed therefrom. Rule 20, disruption of meetings. Nothing in this rule shall prohibit the removal of any person who willfully disrupts a meeting to the extent that orderly conduct is seriously compromised. The purpose of today's business meeting is to conduct the business of Bonner County. According to state law, a Board of County Commissioners is a body corporate and a body politic. Today's purpose as a business meeting is to conduct the corporate business of Bonner County. Robert's Rules of Order is used to maintain and set forth guidelines with which a body, such as this Board of Commissioners, does its job. But Robert's Rules comes in second place to state law every time. Not some of the time, but every time. And in Robert's Rules of Order, and according to state law, the minority gets to be heard, but the majority gets to decide. There are rights associated with membership. And those rights are to attend meetings, to make motions, to speak in debate, and to vote. Those are what we get to do. There is no right to win every time. I wish there was, because I would win more frequently, or maybe not, because that's not how it works in life. So, to preside, it's a verb, to exercise guidance, direction, or control under state statute. To disrupt is to cause a disturbance or a problem. As stated in our code, there is a purpose for the public comment section. And I have added, and I did add Rule 12 last week, but it was interesting that it was asked to be withdrawn, and so I did. Rule 12 says that all members of the public wanting to give public comment in the regular business meeting must sign up prior to the meeting being called to order. Members of the public wishing to give public comment via Zoom must submit a completed form prior to the call to order. The purpose behind this is to maintain order, but also so that we can follow up with questions or queries that members of the public may have. And our ordinance clearly states that a member of the public who wants to give comment needs to approach the microphone or online and then state whether or not they reside within the county. So I will step down from the chair and move, based upon the information before us, to amend the BOCC standing rules and add standing rule number 12. Is there a second?
Yes.
There is a second. Is there any discussion on the addition of rule number 12 to the standing rules?
Before I start the discussion, can you state whether or not this was reviewed and approved by legal?
Doesn't have to be.
Okay, but I still am asking the question if it was reviewed and approved by legal.
Commissioner Williams, as with all of these agendized items, we produce the rules. We produce well, actually, I should say some of us produce memorandums. They are submitted in an agenda packet, which legal has access to. I have been asking for almost 1 year for legal to attend these meetings. Legal has the opportunity to review this. So yes, legal did have the opportunity to review this item.
Commissioner Ahmed, I'm wanting to have the discussion, and I would ask you to be mindful of your dissertation that you gave about decorum, because you're sliding not only legal, who is online, but you're not answering my question. Is just did legal, and Bill's hand is up now, so we'll allow him to answer.
Go ahead, Mr.
Can you guys
Wilson.
hear me okay?
Yes.
I have not reviewed this rule, and our practice is not to simply ask legal to be aware of any item that happens to be placed on the agenda, but actually to submit it to me for review. So I disagree with the characterization, Commissioner Ahmed, because it's not my obligation to simply be aware of what's happening and review everything. Our practice is that if you want me to review something, you send it to me. And that hasn't happened in this case.
Thank you. And we have a form by which we submit those requests for review. This is particularly important because it is addressing public comment. And so historically, legal has made the comment that either we do public comment or you don't do public comment. But if you're going to do public comment, if you're going to place restrictions around that public comment, you open yourself up for a negative outcome. And so given that this has not been submitted, and I actually at this time would like to use Commissioner Ahmed's own statement. Like everybody else does, they submit it to legal on the form requested by legal to review and make sure it's in compliance with the rules and statutes before you make a decision. Currently, what has happened is you're putting forth a set of rules and guidelines without a legal review and ignoring the process by which we are to request that legal review. So if it's reasonable and appropriate, it should be okay to go through legal before we institute such rules. And so my request would be that this request of yours actually go through legal reasonably and appropriately. And I would also ask that we discontinue disparaging the prosecutor's office because they have been involved.
Commissioner
and
Williams,
they are,
no one has disparaged the prosecutor's office. Let's stay on the agendized
yes,
item,
so
which
you,
is
Commissioner Ahmed,
move.
Commissioner Ahmet, you specifically said you have asked them for over a year to participate, and that is not.
That is accurate, and
That
I
is
have
not-
the emails to prove
That
it.
is not that is a negative comment, and it's not accurate, as Bill Wilson is online. So there isn't last week, you guys passed something saying you want their presence. They have not done their job, and it's not appropriate for this board to make it appear as such to the community. You didn't submit this to Bill to review, so instead of creating negativity at the beginning, let's just let legal review what your standing rules are before you pass it, because you're putting the cart before the horse and potentially pitting our community in front of litigation related to what you're trying to confine. Because I believe there's an issue with the public comment restrictions that you're given. And there is still also the issue of the statement that you made in Rule 11 that you passed, where if I choose not to vote, that you will make it a positive vote. I encourage you to submit this to legal for review and comment.
Commissioner Williams.
Please direct your attention towards the comments, not the individual, per your guidelines.
Regardless of the mischaracterization, there is no restriction on what the public can say. What there is a simple process of how to participate in a governmental meeting. We are only looking at Rule 12 today. We are not addressing Rule 11, which actually is addressed in the open meeting law and also was addressed by what constitutes a quorum. A quorum is a majority of the board members. Is there any further discussion on Rule 12?
Yes, because it doesn't address anything that I just said regarding the legalities. And one of the things that this board has done is it said the people cannot give a comment on any of the agendized items. So as the residents take the time off to come here and they're listening to the dialogue of the board and different issues on the agenda, their public comment is at the end. So what you're doing is you're restricting someone's ability to say, I have a comment on that, I'd like to give a public comment since it hasn't come. You're controlling how they speak, and that is what I believe is an issue, because you either speak or you don't speak. Public comment is not there until the very end. So as an individual sits in this meeting, they might have a comment on this dialogue right now, and they might want to give a comment, but your rule says no one can come up and write their name down because you've decided it must start before it convenes. That's not reasonable, and we're supposed to be encouraging the community to participate meaningfully. And since they can't comment in real time on the issues, the way in which they can meaningfully participate is as they hear an issue and concern, that they go up and sign up for public comment. There isn't a logical reason to deny that, as we have seen many people have questions on the issues.
What?
Is there,
Yes.
Mr. Volley, this is not the time for the public to be, thank you. Is there any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, roll call vote.
I actually have an issue, because you point out that the minority voice gets to discuss and deliberate, but you're not actually having a discussion. I'm bringing up reasonable responses to what you're trying to do, and you're just treating it as if Asia speaks, that counts. We're supposed to have a discussion, so why not, if you feel what you're doing is reasonable and appropriate, engage in the dialogue as to the reasonable issues I brought forth. For example, explain to the public why you won't push this through legal for a review and response. Explain to the public as to why they sit in this meeting and can't come up mid-meeting and say, hey, I want to give a comment on something, instead of just saying, Asia brought forth issues, now it's time to vote. That's not reasonable. And it doesn't matter, you shouldn't have to be told by somebody, yes, you guys should engage in reasonable communication. That's what the community wants to see on the issue.
Commissioner Williams, what I actually
Please
stated.
address the issue that I state and not the individual as per your guidelines.
Commissioner Williams.
Commissioner Ahmet, you are not supposed to address the speaker, you're supposed to address the issue and concern, which is what I'm asking you to do. So please follow your guidelines.
Commissioner Williams. I am again quoting from the open meeting law manual.
If it doesn't apply to you, why does it apply to others? Because you're not following the example that you're giving. So the issue that I've asked that you address, you're not addressing, and you're intentionally ignoring that you're not supposed to address an individual. The reason Robert Rules tells you not to address the individual is so that you focus on the issues. But what you're displaying is that you're really just focused on me instead of the issue I'm bringing forth. So can you redirect your communication to address the issue that I put forth in a respectful, objective, reasonable manner to the public?
May I speak, Commissioner? May I have your permission? Let me know.
So is what you're doing in line with the decorum that you claim at the beginning of the meeting? It's not. Just course correct and just address the issue. Not looking for an apology. I just want you to address the issue. And let's make the meeting exactly what you described at the beginning.
Commissioner Williams, deliberation is defined in state law to be the receipt of information. There is no requirement for a back and forth, no matter how much certain people would like to get into arguments. And Mr. Bowman.
Would you like to stay here?
Mr. Bowman, you have not been recognized by the chair. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So returning to what deliberation in state law is versus what deliberation is not. The law establishes what we do. Deliberation can merely be the receipt of information. I have received, excuse me. The memorandum is what presents the information to the board to make that decision. That exchange of information is the receipt of information. It is not an argument. It is not a debate. It is the transmittal of information for a legal purpose where then action may be taken or not. And according to question number 16 of the open meeting law manual, identifying an item as an action item on the agenda does not require a vote to be taken. And
Which is why I shouldn't have been denied last week.
With that being said, roll call vote.
No.
Yes?
Yes.
The motion carries. The next agendized item is to adopt the order of agenda.
Mr. Chairman, would like to move to make an amendment to the order of agenda, strike BOCC items 1 through 21 as they are redundant and they are absolutely inappropriate for the business meeting and they have absolutely nothing to do with the Bonner County business meeting. It is more like activities and current affairs, and that is not what this business meeting is for.
I will step down from the chair and second the motion for discussion. Is there any discussion on this amendment to the order of agenda?
Yes. So the board has been advised by legal not to remove items that are on the agenda by a commissioner. Every one of these items is business of Bonner County, to include reviewing the investigative report that was commissioned by Prosecutor Marshall for us to make a decision on, to talk about the upcoming chats, which are critical to our community. It is disingenuous for this board to remove the items. There are that many because last week, as you agreed today, you inappropriately removed my ability to just do one District 2 report. It is important for me to communicate what's going on, and quite frankly, it's something that some members of the community have relied on. There were members of our commissioner chat last week who their question was, how do I get to know when the next chats are and what's being discussed? The discussions that happen in the chats are all for the community. They're who the community wants to hear, but they're also agencies that reach out to say, hey, we would like to get our information out to Bonner County. We learned today that we only have 2 volunteers with respect to the Area Agency on Aging to help our population. That's a call to action for members of our community to see where we can bridge that gap. That's absolutely important to Bonner County community. What you're blocking, again, is not the action itself, because clearly it is in line with business of Bonner County. What you're blocking is the community hearing what it is that I'm working on, which there is no negative. And I'll repeat the same thing. If the 2 of you would discontinue blocking me from the agenda, I would actually be able to talk less because I would just hit the District 2 report and be done. Last week, you denied me public comment stating that you've chosen that I am not a member of the public to be able to give a comment, and now you're removing something that is critical from legal opinion that everybody wants to know where we are with that. That is specific to Bonner County. So it's disingenuous and it's not in events. And even if it was, it's something that I'm doing for the community, something that people are using as a resource. And your removal is not in line with doing what's best for Bonner County. The people want that. And I would ask you, if you actually think it's reasonable and appropriate, on this item alone, why don't you allow the public to give their comment on the commissioner chat, whether or not they want the answers on legal opinions, events that are coming up, and projects, as well as open meeting rules and the fair investigation report. And I'll remind you that Robert Rules of Order, it's an exchange. So it's not I put information out there, it's an exchange. And so what the board is doing and has been doing and will, seems like continue to do, is you're just saying we have to exist with Asia on the board, but we're going to block everything we possibly can. That is not in the best interest of Bonner County. It isn't. So can you please stop doing that? If you don't like chats, don't watch them, don't participate. But you're trying to restrict the people from participating with what they have identified as reasonable and appropriate. That's not okay, because the two of you aren't offering any list of things that you're working on in the community, and that's really what you're blocking, is you don't want that comparison in this meeting.
Title 31, Chapter 8, Powers and Duties of the Board of Commissioners, clearly states what the powers and duties of the Board of Commissioners are. And the very first one is the general powers and duties. And it's not how I want it to be, it's how it is. And it starts with the general powers and duties. The boards of county commissioners in their respective counties shall have jurisdiction and power under such limitations and restrictions as are prescribed by law. No single member of the Board of County Commissioners has individual authority. In Idaho law,
Wilson, are you paying attention to what's going on here?
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
and for the members of the public, that is your warning. If there is another outburst, I will ask you to leave the meeting.
Thank you.
I don't.
No more.
We can't
Commissioner
do that.
Williams, may I continue with my
Actually-
response to deliberation, or will I be interrupted? I would like to give my response
Please
because
present yourself the way that you want other people to treat you. You're being unreasonably negative. You're not exhibiting the behaviors that you want from everybody while you strip from them. Look, the room was filled when you came here of people listening to information on the area on aging. So stop treating people disrespectfully and demanding more from them than you give. I'm not asking you for a rule. There is no rule that says, Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Ahmet, you must be kind. There isn't a rule. It's just reasonably implied. So I'm asking you, not arguing, I'm asking you to review. My list is very clearly related to Bonner County business. If you choose to take those off, if that's a consideration, ask the people that wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to come if that's what they want. What harm does it give you that I'm running a chat if you don't want to participate? None. So why are you set on removing something that people have seen as vital? Army Corps of Engineers came, they gave a lot of information. First time they've been in Bonner County building. That's huge. And they have a list of jobs available that we were able to post out online to let people know, hey, we can help our own community. Why don't you tell Bonner County why you want to remove that resource from them and stop going to Title 31? It's not going to tell you to be kind. This is a decision to make. Yes, you guys can vote 2-1 to get rid of all those things, but then what is the legal ramification of what you're doing? Because there is a legal ramification, because you're stripping through this meeting something that is very basic. I have a right to place things on the agenda, and I did. Tell the people that wake up why you don't want a discussion about the chat.
I'd like to answer that question.
go ahead, Mr. Commissioner Bradshaw.
The elected of Bonner County have been elected to serve the community. They have been elected for... Shut. You will silence
What?
while I'm speaking, or you'll leave this room.
That is accurate.
That is 100%. Mr. Wilson, I got a simple yes or no question. Are we required by law in a BOCC business meeting to entertain public comment?
You can remove public comment entirely. It's just not what we should do.
Am I mistaken on that law, or is that an absolute?
correct.
Thank you.
Business meeting is not a time when there is a legal obligation for the board to accept public comment. That the same that you would have, say, if it were a public hearing on a land use file.
Right. Thank you, Bill. So, as elected officials, we've been hired to do a job. The Bonner County business meeting is to conduct business. It's not a community chat. It's not a current events moment. If a commissioner wants to be an activist and a community organizer, they can do that on their own time. We have not been hired to do that. We have a job to conduct the business of this county, and we will conduct the business of this county in this meeting. And if the things on the agenda have nothing to do with the business of Bonner County, my motion is to strike them from there. Public comment is not required by law. It has always been allowed as a courtesy to the public. But when the public, just like your public lands, you get people that abuse it and they gate it off because a few ruin it for others. So the behavior of the people that come to these business meetings will dictate as to whether or not there will be public comment. So it's up to y'all how you behave as to whether this will continue or not. But in the meantime, the motion on the floor is to strike BOCC items 1 through 21 because they are not appropriate for this meeting.
It's unfortunate and unreasonable that for a commissioner who has never told you one thing that they've worked on to say that what I am working on is not part of Bonner County business. There isn't a time that I've
Commissioner
done a chat.
Williams, we will
There
not
isn't
speak
a time-
disparagingly. We are here to speak
But it
about.
was
Point
it
of
was-
question.
So it's not reasonable,
Point of
it isn't
question, Mr.
reasonable
Point of
for
order.
the board to say that a chat is not related to Bonner County business when it's the people of Bonner County that are saying, Asia, we would like to hear about mental health. We'd like to hear about the Army Corps of Engineer, and you're saying it's not related. And the real issue is it shines light on the fact that other people don't have something to report. My chat is very specific to the community. If you watch the chat today, it is a call to action for our community because we have a huge gap in caring for our elder population. We wouldn't know that if we didn't do a chat. These people drove from Coeur d'Alene to come here to talk to us. That's where a lot of these chat people are coming from. They're actually driving here to help our community improve our community. And if you have a commissioner that sits here and says it's not related to us, that is completely unacceptable because our job is to represent the people, all of the people, and we all do it in different ways. I chose to do it through a commissioner chat. You guys choose to do it through saying we're going to deny public comment if we don't like what it says. My form actually is reasonable, appropriate, and it's working. It's to the point where that actual agency wanted to come. They were waiting to be able to present. To where people that work in Bonner County say, wait, Army Corps of Engineers was too short for 45 minutes. Can you bring them back on the same topic so we can ask more questions? That is the business of Bonner County. And you guys are denying the people to hear that because it actually helps even the agencies. And that's what they report back. Because I, for one, didn't know all of what DEQ did and didn't do with relationship to individual wells. We learned that through a chat and are able to redirect our questions and complaints. You're trying to remove that discussion in this meeting unnecessarily. And it's not reasonable and appropriate. That is 100% the business. You just keep creating new rules to stifle communication from me. And that isn't what the focus should be because it isn't Asia that's not being allowed. It's the people who want to hear this stuff that you're actually silencing and then threatening in this meeting that you guys don't have to allow them to speak, so you won't. Represent the people. And there are people coming to hear this.
There will not be that in this meeting.
Luke,
So
you know what, Luke, you can throw me out. In fact, I'll
You
bring
can
my
just
phone.
leave, Mr. Kramer.
I will.
Thank you.
But on the way
please
out,
note
I'd like
on the
to ask-
record that
I'd like to
Mr.
ask
Kramer
you,
has
Luke,
been asked, Mr. Kramer,
Ask Luke to
you
define business. He's
Yes,
never defined
amen.
what business is. Define for the public that you want to rule over.
He
what
needs
business
Mr.
to-
Kramer, you don't have to leave
Yes, he
because
does.
a commissioner can say you're a guest of a
Mr.
commissioner and you can sit here. There is
Cameron?
no law broken.
Cameron,
There is no
yes,
law
I
broken.
am asking. You have been
But,
warned
and
and
I've
you are
asked you to
now being
stay.
asked to
And I've
leave.
asked you to stay. So there,
Yes.
you're at a tie.
Dave, you are
And
not in
it's
charge.
not on the agenda to vote on, so
Yeah.
he stays.
Yes, as a matter of,
He touches in
Mr.
the battery.
There's nothing you can do,
it's
so move on.
9:36 and this meeting is recessed. Lieutenant Riffle, are you going to assist Mr. Lacombe, or will I call Sandpoint Police Department to remove Mr. Kramer? You aren't here to help maintain